Okay.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. My guest today is Nomura. If you are around Toastmasters International in the San Diego County and Imperial County area, this is not a stranger to you. You will probably know this guy. Norm has been competing in contest in District 5 Toastmasters International for many, many years. I don't remember the exact, I think it's 2007, something like that, in many different contests. And today, I'm really excited to have Norm over here sharing with us some of the things that we can do to develop entertaining and memorable speeches. And so we're going to take some time to get to know Norm a little bit about part of his journey, and then hopefully, if all things go well, Norm is going to share at least maybe three tips about ways that we can develop more entertaining and memorable speeches. And then if you want to know more, you got to contact Norm or go see him live in San Diego. Now, I want to clarify, whether you are a member of Toastmasters International or not a problem. He does speak on, I believe it's called the 4D approach to developing entertaining and memorable contest level speeches. But guys, you know, if you're going to be communicating out there, whether it be on video, be live, audio, whatever it is, that there can be some of the same points that apply, whether you're competing or not. So thanks so much for being here, Norm. I appreciate your investing your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. How would you best describe your journey at becoming the contest level speaker that you are today, all the way back to your beginning, I guess, where you started? What were you doing? Facilitating sales workshops, something like that?
In the beginning, I was a sales manager and had to lead some sales meetings, and that's why I joined that organization. And I could barely string two sentences together at the time. And it was a
You've come a long way.
And they teach a curriculum, so that's what I absorbed it.
Yeah. So what, you give so much. My experience, I mean, I know Norm through Toastmasters International in San Diego. And I think, I feel you're one of those individuals that I've met that gives so much. You're not a professional speaker unless something has changed. I've never known you to be a professional speaker. You're not out there hawking your wares, you know, selling all of your services, things like that. I think you do some consulting. But I think you've claimed not to be a professional speaker, but I find you giving and giving and giving and being willing to mentor people and teach people what it takes to be a really great speaker. So what inspires you to share all of this?
Like I said, when I started, I wasn't a very good speaker, and learning to become a speaker through the curriculum and entering contests and touching people. After a while, you learn the basics of public speaking in general, and it branches out into communicating with family, communicating at work, just communicating in general. And when you can put this all together, there comes a time when you have a voice that people will listen to, maybe because of what you say or how you say it. And what it turns out is that people's lives actually start to change because of what they heard or what you said. These words that you're putting together and presenting in front of someone, it's changing their lives. It's a pretty important thing to happen. And when you see it happen over and over, in my family, having that happen as well, you have to give back. I felt I had to give back. You can't just take what I learned and sit on it. You know, if I can help someone else change a life with their words, then that's what I'm here for.
Right. What do you know, as you reflect on your journey from then to now, what do you feel has made the greatest difference in your development as a communicator?
Willing to get out of my own way, absorb as much as I could. I mentioned that I could barely string two sentences together, and we only know what we know. I mean, we've heard that before. And I saw that there were so many out there that had things that could help me. and just absorbing what I heard, putting it into action, being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
And it all directs, and you get steps forward whenever you try these things. So as long as you're moving forward, it's a good thing. And I just kept moving forward.
Yeah. So let's jump right into the 4D approach to creating these memorable and entertaining speeches. Obviously, we're not here for a couple of hours or anything like that. So I'm not even sure if you can do it. Is there a way that you can concisely give us those top tips of how to create these memorable and entertaining speeches?
The 4Ds are fairly simple. That is, the first D, the first dimension, is the topic. What is it that you're going to talk about? And in any venue that you speak in, whether it's a contest or a work environment, there is a topic and a message that should be given to your audience. The second D is the written word. I don't know about you, but I write a lot different than I speak. And if I were to recite what I wrote, it would sound pretty canned.
Right.
And therefore, writing your information down is the second. And the third is to take that written information and turn it into a spoken word, whether that the spoken word in the inflections that you use, but and also the gestures that you use, or the facials, the staging, anything that you can do in delivering the words that you want to say turns it into the third dimension. And the fourth dimension is kind of tough. The fourth dimension is a connection between you and your audience. And that could be through common experience, which doesn't always happen. It could be through emotions, which always happen. I think we all share emotions. And whether I am able to display an emotion in me, they're going to feel that my emotion. If the words and the presentation that I give stimulates the emotion in an audience, then we've made that connection. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And it's usually the key to success in making sure that your message is going to stick and they're going to think about what you had to say on their drive home or wherever they're headed.
Yeah. So how based upon results, let's reflect back on your history competing and really creating these entertaining and memorable speeches. How has it worked out for you? I assume it must have worked out.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by worked out?
How did it work out? I mean, these 4Ds that you came up with, did this come from, hey man, I had to lose a couple of contests to figure out I need the 4Ds, not 3Ds, but I need all 4. And when I had all 4, I started winning. I started advancing.
I think that's true. There are many people who are great writers or very entertaining and animated people that have very terrible written speeches and expect that they're going to connect with the audience, and it's not always the case. You have to have it all. If you want to talk about how to increase the fiscal budget for the next year with your employees, it may not be the best topic for connecting with most audiences. Mm-hmm. However, if you were to talk about a family or an experience, it doesn't have to be that you climbed Mount Everest, but just something that can connect with someone. Those are the types of things that you could put into a speech that really connect. And I don't know that I just answered your question, but there are different ways that you have to look at it. And my journey through this was starting out with those motivational type speeches that didn't go anywhere because I'm not Tony Robbins. But once you start to talk about stories that can impact not only yourself, but have a resonating effect with your audience, then there's the connection that people seem to enjoy.
Yeah, you actually did, because that's what I wanted to hear is really, what I'm hearing is that this came out of these 4Ds. It really came out of the trials that you had in competing and becoming a better speaker. You're not Tony Robbins. You're not Thomas Mangum. You're not Bob Dietrich. And anybody else listening is not you and me. We each have a completely and utterly different style, different natural abilities, different talents, what have you. And so that's what I like about this kind of checklist of the 4Ds. Check in on each of these. I was wondering if we have a few minutes here. Could you go a little bit deeper into the topic one? Let's break those down a little bit more. What can the what do you suggest to the listener? You're mentoring, you're coaching one of our listeners that's on their journey to becoming to really leveling up as a speaker, as a trainer, as a facilitator. What do you suggest?
I suggest that you look at the emotions and how that particular topic influences you as a person. If it influences you and you can speak passionately about it, it is going to translate into your audience. However, if it does influence you, there is a key to getting that information that is important to you, to your audience. If I am very, very interested in quilting, for example, if someone wasn't interested in quilting, for example, it wouldn't interest me in the least. However, some of the stories that were encountered in their journey of quilting would, how they ended up poking themselves with a needle 16 times and were about to quit. However, they met with their grandmother and their grandmother showed them this thing that ties her life together. Those sorts of stories are the types that can make quilting an interesting topic because it's interesting to you and you could put a story in that will resonate with me as an audience member.
So what I'm hearing is this first D is it actually says a lot to be passionate about your topic. I mean, I guess someone could say, hey, listen, I want to get out there, like you said, to be a motivational speaker because people pay for it, or speak on sales because people pay for it. But if there's no passion behind it, your audience is going to feel it. Is that close?
That's true. That's very true.
Okay. All right. And how about number 2?
Number 2, the written word. When I write a speech or write something, I want to make sure that the words are colorful, that you use the different writing techniques to put together something, that it is organized to a point where it carries the story forward. I know that screenwriters do that a lot, that they know that the audience knows where the story's going. They just don't want to be led by the hand along that path. They want to get to the end that they know is coming, but they want to be led there in an entertaining way. It's not an easy thing, and the people at Pixar do that real well.
Right.
So that's writing and editing. You're rehearsing or you're reciting the words that you wrote in the car or wherever you are, and it doesn't sound right, or you don't remember what you wrote down, so you say it differently. And you say, wow, that was a lot better that way that I just said it. So the editing, the writing is something that it's huge. The different types of grammar that can be used, the first person, the past tense, whatever fits for the emotion that you're trying to bring out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, and how about number 3?
Number 3 is the entertaining part. If we were to think of a movie, for example, that came from a written work, whether it be Alice in Wonderland or whatever it is, what happens is the written word has to translate into a visual. And the better you can get there, or the closer that you can get there, I think turns it into more entertainment, which makes it stick in the audience's mind a little bit better. Whether you can say a line without any facial expression at all, but you put the facial expression in there and it changes the whole mood. And that's the visual. Whether you can do advanced techniques with staging or arm gestures or falling on the floor or do whatever you want that way, if it moves the story from the written word to the visual experience, then I think that's what 3D is about.
Okay. And the tough one, as you call it, the more challenging, number 4.
Mm-hmm. You don't always know who you're going to be speaking to, and I've heard that you're never going to connect with everyone in the audience.
True.
The important part is that the part that connects with you is the part that you want to connect to the audience. And you won't please everyone, but the reason that you speak is because you have an audience member that needs to hear the words that you're going to say. And the better way to put those words together and the actions and the subject matter together to get that person to think or feel differently or act differently, is successful. You know, you mentioned I'm not a professional speaker. I don't get a paycheck. But if someone were to come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I have been doing that to my daughter, and I'm going to go home right now and call her up and apologize or invite her over," those are the types of actions that can be connected through when all the other three dimensions come together.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. I like that. Switching gears and kind of turning it back to a little bit more to you, because I'm always curious where this comes from and your theory or your idea about coaching and mentoring someone. So social correctness aside, political correctness aside, all of that, what's something that perhaps you don't share as often as I feel you probably could, that you feel new speakers need to hear about the journey, about going from where they are to where they want to be? So it's a get real kind of conversation. What should they know? What do you really want to share?
Okay, social correctness aside, with regards to contest,
no gentle right now.
Okay, with regards to contest speeches, disclaimer: turn your ears off if you want to be the world champion of speaking. You probably won't. I see so many people that get disappointed because they don't do as well as they thought they were supposed to do, whether it would be winning a contest or just connecting with an audience. And the reality is, you're not there yet, and I'm not there yet. You won't see me holding up this huge trophy as the best in the world. It's just not there. And many people let that guide them rather than the important things in speaking, which is what I mentioned earlier, connecting with someone and changing their lives.
Mm-hmm.
If you let something superficial get in the way of the bigger picture of being someone that someone can look up to, or you leave a legacy, or you can leave a legacy behind that you were the one to move someone forward. We do that with family members. We do that at the workplace. If we're the person that caused someone to take steps forward, that's the important part. Not that you got a pat on the back or a trophy or anything else. Don't let that be your success. Your success is completely different. And it took some time for me to learn that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel that people need to hear this. It's one of my favorite questions. This is like, I love these parts of the interviews that I get to do, is because I think in private circles, we share these things, and I feel that speakers and communicators, people that are on a professional path or world championship public speaking path, they need to hear this, and it can be done from a place of love and care. It's not being like the old experienced guys just saying, "Hey, you're probably not going to get there, and you're probably not ready," because I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you'll agree, is like, listen, you got to shoot for it. You got to have the belief that it's possible that you will become an absolutely amazing communicator. At the same time, what are your motivations? What are you after? Why are you doing it? Is it cause an impact, or you need the ego boost? Or just get clear on that, and then put in the effort and do the work. I guess it's possible you could be the world champion and be a ringer, and head right on up there. But I don't know. I maybe like you is I've been on the earth for a few years and realized is that do the work, man. Take one step every day. Get out there and speak. You'll learn something.
So I'm sure you're not the same speaker you were 10 years ago.
I'm not the man.
It doesn't come from. It only comes from your own journey.
10 years from now, I mean, it's going to be completely different. And sure, we could be talking about any industry right now, pretty much anything. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. I have a couple of, I call it my quick fire questions round. I kind of warned you about this ahead of time. We have a couple of minutes, and I was wondering if you could just give some quick answers to perhaps these questions. Are you game for a couple more minutes?
Sure.
All right. So what is a favorite resource and app or a book that you'd recommend to people leveling up their speeches, or I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You know, our audience are people that are speakers, facilitators, trainers somewhere along the journey. What is your favorite resource, app, or book?
My favorite resource are studying speakers who I enjoy. It may not be the type of speaker with the same style as I have, but they're connecting. As I mentioned, they're connecting in a way, and if you can find out what it is that they do to make them successful in the eyes of their audience, then you can somewhat emulate, not copy, but emulate what it is that they do that makes them more enjoyable and successful in what they are trying to get across.
That's such a good reminder. I love that. Do you ever go on YouTube and look up famous speeches or really impactful speeches?
Mm-hmm. Like Les Brown says a lot of cool stuff, but I could never speak like Les Brown. But when you dig deep, you can find how he is firing up those emotions in you, and you can fire up those same emotions, maybe just in a different way.
Oh, that is beautiful. Norm, seriously, that's a nugget of wisdom right there. That's really it. And you mentioned that about Tony Robbins before as well. So Tony Robbins, Les Brown, old speeches of Martin Luther King Jr., JFK, something like that. Success leaves clues. That's something my mentor had always told me. He says, Thomas, success leaves clues. You're not any of those guys, women, whatever that you see as powerful speeches, but there's something underneath. Look in it and find the clue that can inspire you to engage with the audience you're meant to serve. And that's what I'm kind of taking away with what you
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, but I think you said it a little bit better. Success leaves clues. I'm going to write that down as soon as we sign off here.
Do you have a favorite quote that motivates and inspires you?
Wow. I'm going to have to put success leaves clues in that list somewhere.
Oh!
Because I think any quote that inspires teaches in its words. And that quote in itself teaches in its words.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So no, I don't have a favorite quote. My favorite quote was one of my dad's. He said, because I'm your father, that's why. But that only tells us somewhat of a story, but I used it a lot, so it must be one of my favorites.
Well, think about it. We could use that as a mentor and a coach. You can use that with your mentees. You know, like you say, well, why should I do that? It's like, because I'm your mentor and I kind of know what works. Do it. Just try it.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of wrap up here. And so listen, I will put this in, I'll put your contact information in writing as well, if you're open to being contacted.
Sure.
By folks. Anything that did you want to mention some of your contact information here, or is it easier just to put it in writing?
Easier to put in writing. I have a few email addresses, whichever one you use, I will get.
All right.
I have a website.
Very good. So, Norm, thank you so much. Thank you so much for investing your time, your energy, your wisdom into mentoring, not just Toastmasters, but these videos that we do. These are going to touch people even outside of Toastmasters International as well. So thank you so much for being a guide to me personally over the years. I don't know if I've thanked you nearly enough. I've watched you through the years. And while we have different styles, one thing has always been true to me is that you are all heart, my friend. You are such a giver. And thank you again for even just doing this, this cast with us here.
Well, it's very kind of you to say. I had a good time, and I hope that there are those who will glean something from these words and do something differently themselves.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you soon, Norm. Thanks.
Okay, Thomas.